Hey Ottawa, this is your Monday Market Snapshot for October 2nd, 2023. My name is Annalee Rice and I'm a realtor here in Ottawa, Ontario, and every week I bring you the details of what's going on in the Ottawa real estate market. As today is the second day of October, I'm going to be including lots of charts and such to explain what happened throughout September in the Ottawa real estate market. So let's get going. Okay, first off, citywide, we see that there was a slight drop, 18, in the number of active listings across the city. It was most notably in the condo market, a little bit in detached, and townhomes on the market actually rose slightly this week. Sales this last week were down slightly. We're at 200 sales across the city, down 13 from what we saw last week, and it was mostly in the detached and towns markets, and the condo sales actually increased. Here we have the chart format for the inventory breakdown. We can see that this was the first week in 3 weeks that we have a slight dip in the total inventory across the city. It was a slight decrease in the number of active listings, and both the conditional and firm sales this week were slightly down from last week, but holding pretty strong for the first week of October there. When we look at the actual listings this week, we had 444 listings added to the market this week. It's a slight drop, the same as last week, from what we had the huge climbs after the Labor Day weekend. Of the properties that were listed this week, 66% or 296 were new to the market listings, and 33% or 148 were relisted properties. That is a bit of a jump on the relisted properties. It could have slightly to do with October 1st, so you might have had some relisting after places being expired or canceled. But I think this is all to be expected. The fall peak was definitely following the long weekend, and I think with us getting close to Thanksgiving in this week coming ahead, we may see a bit of a slowdown on new listings. People don't want to be listing right before a long weekend, so we may see a little bit of a slowdown this week, and then again a bit of a jump back up in the next week or two after Thanksgiving weekend. Of the properties that sold this week, we've got 22% of the homes sold without any conditional period, and our weekly average is kind of holding steady at about the 23% for that. That's a average for the last 4 weeks that I've been sort of got a running total there. Of the properties that sold this week, 14% were on the market for 7 days or less, and 63% of those homes sold with no conditions. And we've got 58% of the homes this week sold within 30 days or less. Okay, let's zoom in to see what's happening in the different regions of the city. In the central urban region, we see that there was a bit of a drop in the condos listed, and pretty steady for towns and detached. For sales, the condo sales were actually steady, but it was a drop in the townhomes and a climb in the detached market for sales this week. In Canada and Stittsville, we see that there was a climb in all three types of homes for active listings, and most notably the townhomes there. And the sales were up for both detached and condos, but slightly down for townhomes. In Barrhaven and Riverside South, we see that there was a slight decrease for detached home listings and steady for townhomes at 100, and condos were up slightly. For the sales, they were down just slightly across the board in Barrhaven and Riverside South. And in Orleans, we have a drop in the active listings across the property types, most notably the condos there, a drop of 10. But if you recall, we actually had a climb of 10 last week. So I think it was a little bit of a blip last week. We did have 10 condo sales, so that also contributes to the drop in the condos. And the sales for detached in towns this week in Orleans were slightly down. As always, I've got the full data in table form before we get into all the charts, so stick around. Okay, so since we're at the end of the month, I pulled the data as of October 1st, so these numbers will change slightly as we go, as we get into all the data coming in from the end of the month. But we can see that the the average sale prices for detached homes and semi-detached homes both declined slightly this last month. And we can see that the average sale price for freehold townhomes, as well as condo townhomes and condo apartments, actually rose this last month. Let's look at it in chart form. Okay, so this is the long-term chart, so back to 2018 for the average sale price of these 5 different property types. We can see that there was a slight decline for the detached, and again for the semis, and then we see the slight increases for the lower price properties. Okay, so but how far off of the asking prices are the sale prices? So these charts show us the close price, so that's the final sale price versus the original list price ratio. So how far off of the original list price to the sale price are we? So with across the board, we're at about the 97, mid 97, 98% range, and slight decreases for most of the property types. Detached actually had a slight increase this last month. The next thing we're going to say is how long was the average days to sell. So these are just the properties that sold. And we can see that, again, the detached market had a little bit of a good month, and the average days to sell was about 29, down slightly from about 31 there, 31 last month. But the townhomes and the condos both saw a little bit of an increase. So these average days to sell, there's a lot of factors go into it. We've got the increased inventory that we had across the last month, but then also which homes are selling. So in the detached market, we can see that most of the homes that sold in the last month were the ones that were most recently listed, and that's why that average came down. This is the chart that I shared earlier in the presentation. I just wanted to recap just so we can see over the last month, which is the last 4 dots there, we see how much the inventory climbed. So it's going to come into play when I look at the next thing. So we've had this is the number of sales and also the inventory, and then this chart shows us the monthly sales over the last 10 years, and the black line is the sales for 2023. So we can see that the last 2 months, last 3 months have been declining, and we're right at the bottom of the averages from the last 10 years. Obviously, 2020, 2021 were up at the high end, even 2019, but sales this year have been below the seasonal average, below the averages over the last decade of sales. So then why did I share those different charts? So the months of inventory is the number of months it would take to sell all of the current inventory at the sales rates that we've had, the current sales rates. So that's why I shared both the inventory, which we saw was climbing, and also the sales, which are at sort of decades low. So that is why we're seeing these months of inventory climbing quite significantly. Now, so we have, what do we have for this month? So for September, we saw the detached, it took on average, it would take, sorry, not on average, it would take 3.5 months to sell the remaining inventory if no other homes were listed. Townhomes is up at 2.7 and condos at 2.9. So for all 3 of these property types, we see that they're kind of near high rates right now. And it's kind of similar to what we saw last summer into fall. And it's a combination of how many places are listed, so the inventory, but also very much so the number of sales, which is quite slow. So you either have to have lower inventory or more sales for that number to come down. Okay, so I hope this update has been helpful, and if it wasn't, please drop me a line, get in touch, let me know if there was any confusion. If you like these updates, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, or get in touch. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to see on these updates. And I hope you have a fantastic week with this summer-like weather that we're having in Ottawa.